Hello and welcome to the Stylish Wellness Podcast. I'm Sarah Banks, your guide to mastering personal style and authority. I've built a successful couture business designing handmade wedding dresses and bespoke occasion wear for women who value elegance and individuality. Now I bring that expertise to help ambitious women like you step into your confidence, express your unique style and make an impact, starting with the clothes you wear. If you're ready to elevate your wardrobe, your mindset and your presence, you're in the right place. Let's create a life and a style that truly reflects the remarkable woman you are. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Stylish Wellness Institute, which actually is episode 50. Can you believe that? Episode 50 of the Stylish Wellness Podcast. Here we are, a year on from when I decided to go all in with podcasting and to bring my work to the podcast world and see how it would go. And it's going amazingly. It's going brilliantly, and I'm really enjoying it. And new listeners are joining the podcast each week, and the viewer figures are going up, which is great. It's great not because the viewer figures are going up, although obviously I'm delighted about that. It's great if I'm of help, because that was the point of the podcast. I really love blogging, and the writing aspect of my styling work is one of my real true loves. But I also know that not everyone enjoys reading blog posts and not everyone has time to sit and read them. But more and more we're tuning into podcasts and listening to those. And I know for myself, I love podcasts. I listen to podcasts regularly on all sorts of subjects, and I regard those podcast hosts as my friends. I let them into my world once a week or however often they produce episodes, and I look forward to hearing their voice. Of course, it's very personal, isn't it? People's voices are very unique to them, and so that is one way in which we feel that we get to know people. So I hope in a small way as well, you feel like you're getting to know me and my work and how I want to help you and ways that I think that I can help you. And of course, I'll send them all via the podcast so that you can continue to listen to them. Anyway, today's show, moving swiftly on, today's show is all about the zone of peace. You may have heard about my concept of the zone of peace already, maybe in one of my blog posts or maybe in a podcast episode. If you haven't heard me talk about the zone of peace or read about it in one of my blog posts, or if you have, but your memory is a bit hazy on what I said, then let me give you a little recap. The zone of peace is the place where the inner you meets the outer you. By which I mean the inner you if you're in your brain, but also in your heart and in your spirit. It's who you believe yourself to be. That is one part of you. Then there is the outer you of you. The outer you is how you project your inner you out into the outside world. It's how you show people who you are. The space where the two meet and agree, that is the zone of peace. I often describe it as being like a Venn diagram. The inner you is one circle and the outer you is another circle, and the point at which they overlap is the zone of peace. You could also think of it like the confluence of two rivers or the confluence of river and sea. Of course, the analogies don't necessarily completely satisfy because it's all you. It's not necessarily completely separate like two different rivers. But while all of it is still the wholeness of you, the zone of peace does serve a great purpose. It helps you to check in with different aspects of yourself and understand that there are different aspects to your character. It can also help you to pinpoint if you have a discrepancy between the outer you and the inner you. And from there, you can identify why that might be and what you can do to bring the two back in alignment. So it's a concept that I love and am continuing to develop as a tool. Before we talk about the problems that the Zone of Peace can help you solve and how you can use it in your own life, there are 2 places where I am offering my Zone of Peace work that you might be interested in. The first is in Lose 5, Stylize, Organise, which is my intensive 1-month programme to lose 5 pounds, restyle yourself and organise, or rather curate, your wardrobe or closet. Lose 5, Stylize, Organise is currently available for you to join, so do sign up for it if you need a mini style refresh. It's a great kickstart to your mind and body if you're feeling a little sluggish or maybe in need of some direction for your body, mind and spirit. Also, it's packed with content and it's really competitively priced. And this price won't last long because when I introduced and launch my new offer in March, the price of Lose 5, Stylize, Organise will go up to sort of reflect the comparisons between the 2 courses. Otherwise, there's going to be a complete mismatch between them because Lose 5, Stylize, Organise is sort of my baby and it's developed over time. And so I've sort of kept the price point where it is. But I've, this time round for Lose 5, Stylize, Organise this year, I've put much more content, newer content, more relevant content in, I think, for working women. And so, it's just up-leveling my little baby all the time. So Lose 5, Stylize, Organise is one place where you will find Zone of Peace work. That's in the Stylize section, which is module 2. You'll find work on the Zone of Peace there. And if you want to join Lose 5, Stylize, Organise, well, it's still at its extremely competitively priced offer. Go to www.workingfrocks.com / I think it's Lose 5, Stylize, Organise. The URL is in the show notes, so you'll be able to click on that and go straight through to it. And then the other place where you will find my Zone of Peace work will be my high-level work that is coming in March. And this is work that I'm developing to work either on a one-to-one basis or in a very small group setting for women who want a particular change in their life and they need or want that support behind them to help them get to their next place. So it could be that they want a big promotion, or it could be that they've been promoted and they've taken a big step up in their career. It could be that they've moved from a junior role to a senior role. It could be that they're giving a keynote speech for the first time to a really big audience. It could be that they're changing careers. It could be that they're going back into the workplace for the first time, either in a first time in a long time, either because they've had a career break or because they've had a baby, whatever reason. And I'm sure that you will resonate with what I'm saying here, but at those times, we know we can do it, right? We know we can do that work, step into being that woman that we need to be. But actually, we also really benefit from a support structure. So my work as my styling and wellness work to support women like this, it could be someone like you, to step into that next level of herself, is very much the behind the scenes work, the work on your mindset, the work on what you're going to wear, the work on creating the wardrobe for you that is the perfect wardrobe for you to step into, the work that is to exactly the Zone of Peace work, to make sure that the inner you matches with the outer you. And it's to make sure that the inner you is who you are becoming to step into that woman, and the outer you reflects that woman that you are becoming. So that doesn't launch, well, I say that doesn't launch until March. March is around the corner. In about 6 weeks' time, the Authority Experience will be launching, and you will be able to join me and do the Zone of Peace work then. So there are 2 places, aside from the blog post and where I mention it in the podcast, where you can actually come and do the Zone of Peace work. And it's really valuable work, even though I say so myself. This idea that I love this idea that has come to the forefront now. It's always been around, but I think it hasn't really seen the light of day for various reasons that we won't go into right now. But I think this idea that you have to be in alignment with yourself, that you have to live in integrity with yourself, is really, really beautiful, and that we should all be pursuing. But the thing is, it's not the most easy thing to pursue. It's actually really hard. We get out of alignment really quickly. Society, our work, ourselves, our families, our friends, they can easily push us out of alignment, or we can allow ourselves to be pushed out of alignment almost without realizing it. And we need to sort of constantly pull ourselves back and just remember who we are and remember to operate from that place of who we are. And the work on the zone of peace does really, really help you to do that. And I think that my work on the zone of peace has come at a perfect time, because I think society as a whole is recognizing much more, especially with the rise in mental health issues and this acknowledgement from all parts of society that people are struggling, that women are struggling with mental health issues, that men are struggling, that children are struggling, that adolescents are struggling. Coming out of COVID, everyone was struggling, And so I think that my work with the Zone of Peace has come at a perfect moment, and I'm really, really grateful for that. So if you'd like to check it out, those are two places one where you can now, and then one where you will be able to shortly. So on with today's show, but before we do, as we've got to this point, and I've just been talking to you about where you can find the Zone of Peace, before we get back to the show, here is a quick ad on behalf of the Chic Authority Collective. The Zone of Peace isn't just a beautiful concept that I've dreamt up. It has real tangible benefits that I was mentioning before the ad break. So let's break it down a little in terms of the problems that it helps to solve and how it can help you. Firstly, it helps end the inner conflict around style and identity that you may be having. It's easy for me to say the inner you meets the outer you, and where they meet is this beautiful place called the Zone of Peace. But for many women, they feel a disconnect between who they are on the inside and how they present themselves on the outside. This might be you. You may feel like your wardrobe doesn't reflect your personality, that you're dressing based on old habits rather than your true current self. This can lead to frustration, self-doubt, and even a loss of confidence. And the Zone of Peace helps solve this problem because it aligns your inner self with your outer expression, helping you to create authenticity and ease between the two of them. So the Zone of Peace work looks at who you are on the inside and asks you questions about yourself and how you're feeling about yourself. And it does the same with the outer expression of you. And then we put the two together. And I think one of the brilliant, really beautiful things that can happen with this experience of the Zone of Peace is that you can stop second guessing yourself, that you understand yourself really well in your inner self, and you're able to express that really well as your outer self. And so there's no second guessing yourself. There's no doubt about what you should wear. There's no doubt about your identity, about your self-confidence, all those knock-on feelings that you will have as a result of doing the work with the Zone of Peace. Secondly, one of the really great experiences with the Zone of Peace is that it helps you to eliminate overwhelm and decision fatigue. And I think overwhelm and decision fatigue are two big reasons why women really struggle to find the right outfits for them. They really struggle to find the right clothes that are actually in their wardrobe all along. We get very overwhelmed very easily these days because we're basically a lot of the time running on empty. So when you're running on empty, the smallest extra task or the smallest extra requirement on you can give your brain total overwhelm. I mean, I know this from myself. And so you might be a woman who wakes up in the morning, stares at your wardrobe and thinks, I have nothing to wear. That might be true. Well, it's not going to be completely true, is it? Because if you're staring at your wardrobe and you've got clothes in there, you've got something to wear. But take that up a notch. you might feel that you've got nothing to wear because you might actually not have clothes in your wardrobe that are correctly curated. So you have lots of items or a certain number of items in your wardrobe, but they're not curated properly, and so they don't go with other items. So you do feel that you've got nothing to wear because you've just got individual items, really. You don't have a cohesive wardrobe. That applies to some women, but not all women. I think more commonly, women wake up in the morning, look at a fairly full wardrobe and think that they have nothing to wear. And in some cases, and this may be the case for you, you might feel overwhelmed by too many options. Or you might be stuck in a cycle of buying more and never feeling satisfied with what you're buying, never understanding what you're buying and why you're buying it. And if you have too many options and too many files open in your brain that are to do with your wardrobe, so a file open in your brain is, what shall I wear today? So you go to the black dress and you can't wear the black dress because the hem's down. So that opens another file in your brain, which is clothes to take to the menders. Then you think, well, I'll wear the brown skirt instead. The brown skirt has to be worn with the brown shoes. The brown shoes need rehealing. That opens another file in your brain. That file in your brain is to do with taking your shoes to the menders, to the cobblers. Do you see what I mean? You put on another dress, it doesn't fit you. You think, I need to lose weight. You can come and do Lose 5 Stylize Organize with me, of course, but it will open another file in your brain, which is, I need to lose weight. So you will end up with decision fatigue because you can only make so many decisions in a morning. You can only make so many decisions in a day before you get decision fatigue. And you shouldn't be expending the best part of your day wondering about what you're going to wear. Now, there are plenty of blog posts and probably podcasts as well in my selection of podcasts and blogs where I talk a lot about preparing your outfits the night before, preparing them a week in advance. There'll be worksheets, all sorts of things, but that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is the mismatch in your brain caused by not being in a zone of peace and leading to overwhelm and decision fatigue. And how the zone of peace helps solve this is because when you understand your personal style, decision making becomes simpler. You know what belongs in your wardrobe and what doesn't. Getting dressed takes seconds, not minutes or hours, because every piece supports your vision of yourself. But the thing is, you don't know what your vision of yourself is until you've done that work. We're not born knowing what that vision is. We're not given a handbook at birth. And actually, sometimes I think it would be just so much simpler if we were given a handbook at birth, a handbook for every year of our life and how to deal with it well. But sadly, we are not given that. We have to work it out. That is our purpose on this earth, to work ourselves out and to live ourselves fully. So doing the work on with the zone of peace will really help you because it will help you understand your personal style. And actually, more fundamental than understanding your personal style, it helps you understand you. It helps you understand the choices that you make and why you make those choices. So even in Lose 5 Stylize Organize, I've put the work in there for the zone of peace. Not the extensive work, that will be in the other program. But I've put a good amount of work on the zone of peace. And as anyone who is going through the course at the moment will tell you, there are a number of days where there are quite a few questions to be answered. And those are questions about you, what you think about yourself, what you think about your choices. It's all to get your brain firing up in different parts of your brain that perhaps haven't fired up before or fired up in a long time. And that is how you get to understand yourself. So that is how the zone of peace will work in helping you to eliminate overwhelm and decision fatigue. And actually, it will have a knock-on benefit in all areas of your life. It won't just apply to clothes. It will apply to your life as well, because it gives you a mental roadmap for your brain as to how to handle decisions, how to handle overwhelm, how to handle questions. And so you're giving it a framework. It is a framework that is designed for inner peace and for you to improve your personal style, but it can be applied more broadly to other aspects of your life. And I think that you will discover that when you do the work on the zone of peace. Thirdly, the zone of peace will help you reclaim your power and your presence. Or, put very simply, it will help you reclaim your authority. I think even in today's world, even with the young women who are coming up in their early 20s, women are still often socialized to shrink themselves, to dress for approval rather than self-expression, and to blend in rather than stand out. And as a result, you feel invisible, overlooked, and ultimately, which is the worst bit, disconnected from your own authority. Even today, actually, I had this conversation with a colleague. We were saying how women still talk about being thin, being slim. I mean, for goodness sake, I have a program called Lose 5, Stylize, Organize. Although I do have a difficulty with the title. I love the title. It sounds great. And I think in practice, it's a great idea because quite often we know that we would benefit from just dropping a few pounds, feeling a bit better in ourselves because we have overeaten. We've eaten more than our bodies need, and the result is that we've put on weight. But I'm really, really conscious of the fact that does it really matter if you've put a few pounds on? No, it really, really doesn't matter. As long as you're within a healthy weight, then it really honestly doesn't matter. And I do, as you know, a lot of work on the psychology of dressing well. I'm doing more work on authority and stepping into your power and feeling really well. And I know that there is a really fine line to be drawn when I start talking about losing weight. I know that it's an emotive issue. And I also know that we're not supposed to be judging ourselves, we're not supposed to be judging ourselves on how much we weigh. Like, you're not supposed to be judging oneself. I'm not talking about judging other people. I'm talking, you shouldn't be making a negative judgment about yourself if you weigh more than you want to weigh or you can't fit into your jeans. I'm really, really well aware of that. But I did have this conversation with a colleague today. We were like, why do women still talk about being thin? What do men talk about? And we were like, they talk about power. That's what they talk about. And women just don't have those conversations in the same way. I do have some of those conversations with some of my female friends. We do chat more about that, but quite often we'll go back to what we're wearing and what we feel about our bodies. But then, having said that, I do understand that because we have a different body makeup to men. I saw a scientist on YouTube the other day who specializes in women's health, and she was talking about the fact that women should be eating more protein. And she said, we're not little men. We're a different kind of human being. And I thought, it's a really good comment. We're not little men. We're not just like a lighter version with longer hair of our male counterparts. We're different. And that's a great thing. But we shouldn't obsess about being thin. We should probably be talking about other things as well. Anyway, back to the podcast. That was my digression. Actually, while I'm on a digression, when I studied for my French degree, we had a professor. He was a Renaissance specialist, and so the Renaissance scholars always had a digression in their essays and their written work to take their divert their reader's attention halfway through whatever they were writing about. And the idea was when they came back to the subject, their brains would have sort of refreshed from the diversion. And Malcolm Smith, my lecturer, the lectures lasted an hour, and at the halfway point he would always put his book down and tell us a very diverting story. And the brain just picks up and we just think, oh, it's really interesting. And then he'd get back to the lecture. So that's my diverting story. And now back to the podcast. So the zone of peace helps you to reclaim your power, your presence, and ultimately your authority. Because the thing is that when you step into alignment, you're stepping into presence. You don't need to be loud, but you will be seen. And you don't need external validation because you're deeply rooted in self-trust. I think that's such a wonderful thing. I think that as women, we're really lucky if we're brought up in families that root us in self-trust. But still, quite often, we're in families where there is a lack of self-trust and we have to learn it as adults rather than as children. But the thing is, when you have that self-trust, it gives you a confidence that you'll be able to carry into every area of your life, into your work, your relationships, your social interactions. Fourthly, the zone of peace puts an end to style, guilt and shame, which is worthy to be celebrated in its own right if this were the only criteria that the zone of peace met. The problem is that many women feel guilty about their clothes, whether it's that they've spent too much on them, that they're holding on to things that no longer serve them, or that they feel that the clothes are too much, or they feel that the clothes are not enough when they wear them. Style, instead of joyful, becomes another source of stress. To go back to that description that I used above about opening another file, it's sort of a bit like having more files open in your brain. And the zone of peace solves this issue with style, guilt and shame, because when you understand your personal style, as we study it through the zone of peace, you stop making random purchases. You invest in pieces that truly work for you. You let go of the guilt, the clutter, the pressure to conform, and instead you cultivate a wardrobe that supports your lifestyle, your aspirations. It comes down to the fact that it's totally personal. I'm very against this sort of very formulaic thing of, if you have a 10 item capsule wardrobe, you have to have 3 skirts, you have to have 3 shirts. And on Pinterest you see those pins. I know I've spoken about this before, but it really does get me. It'll say like 35 item capsule wardrobe and 8 of them will be leggings. I'm like, leggings, if you only have 35 items to ever wear in your whole life ever again, would 8 of them be leggings? Truly, it's like, no, women, stand up, get rid of like 1. You can have 2 pairs of leggings out of 35 maximum. Because the thing is, and that's for me, right? I don't want to have that number of leggings in a 35. If I had 35 pieces to wear, leggings would be in a separate category for my sportswear. Absolutely. Maybe 1 pair of like really nice evening leggings in a really gorgeous fabric. But no, 8. Anyway, I'm stopping. The zone of peace is perfect for helping you understand your personal style and letting you curate your wardrobe personally so that the items in there are exactly right for you. That is so perfect. And that helps you end any form of style, guilt, and or shame that you might be experiencing. You won't have too many clothes in your wardrobe. You won't have outfits that you feel aren't right. You won't spend too much. You won't have items in your wardrobe that you've held on to for far too long and that they really don't serve you. And you will be able to open your wardrobe and feel totally joyful, which is really wonderful. And as it should be. Fifthly, the zone of peace helps you create a sense of control in a chaotic world. The problem is that life can be unpredictable, and in times of stress or change, you can lose touch with your real sense of self. So whether it's a major life transition such as motherhood or changes in career, or you're aging, or you've gone through some form of personal reinvention, or you've just returned to work after a career break, you might feel like you've lost yourself. And the zone of peace helps because it solves the problem of not having a strong foundation of identity and style. It establishes a strong foundation of identity and style, and then you create that stability for yourself through the work that you do with the zone of peace, no matter what is happening externally. So your wardrobe becomes a source of comfort and confidence that reminds you of who you are, even in uncertain times. And I think, we do live in uncertain times these days, don't we? And having a wardrobe that helps to create a sense of control in what can feel like a very chaotic world is very reassuring. So there are 5 ways that the zone of peace can help you solve problems in your everyday life, and by solving them, make your personal style journey so much easier, so much more straightforward, so much more beautiful, so much more enjoyable. So you see, the zone of peace is so much more than just a nice idea. It's a solution to some of the biggest struggles that you might be facing. Problems of self-doubt, overwhelm, decision fatigue, lack of confidence, and feeling disconnected from yourself. So when you know how to create the zone of peace for yourself, everything shifts. You move through life with a clarity and a confidence and ease, and you dress in a way that feels completely you. And that will give you back your power and your authority, because you stand tall. You know exactly who you are and how you want to show up in the world. So that is the work that I'm doing on the zone of peace at the moment. And as I said, that is all in the current edition of Lose 5, Stylize, Organize. So if you sign up for that now, that work is all available in there. There's other work as well around the zone of peace, but that is just one aspect of it that I thought I would use in today's podcast to give people an idea of how the zone of peace works and how it can help solve problems in your life. And then, of course, it will be in my work on the authority experience in early March. Speaking of which, here's a short ad for the authority experience. Let me ask you something. Does your wardrobe truly reflect who you are? Or do you find yourself playing it safe, feeling disconnected from the style you know you're capable of owning? You're not alone, and that's exactly why I've created something extraordinary. I work with women who are tired of feeling like their clothes don't match their ambition or personality. Whether you're stepping into a leadership role, growing your personal brand, or simply ready to claim your space, your wardrobe should empower you, not hold you back. In just 8 weeks, I'm launching my exclusive one-to-one high-ticket styling service designed to do more than elevate your wardrobe. It will transform the way you see yourself. Together, we'll uncover your unique zone of peace where your inner confidence meets your outer style. You'll learn to step into your personal authority through clothes, creating a signature style that feels authentic, powerful, and completely you. This is a high-touch luxury experience tailored to just 10 women who are ready to step into their full potential. Spots are limited and I'll be opening enrollment in 8 weeks. But you can join the waitlist now by simply going to www.workingfrocks.com/authority experience. This is your moment to own your style and your power. Don't wait. Get on the list now to secure your spot in this transformational experience. You've got the ambition, you've got the vision, now it's time for your wardrobe to match. So amazing women, that is what I have for you this week, and I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you've got something out of it that you hadn't thought of before as regards your relationship with yourself and your relationship with your clothes. And I hope that it really encourages you in whatever way you need encouragement, whether you need encouragement to step into a bigger version of yourself, an encouragement to pick up the pieces because everything's currently going wrong and you're going to have to dig deep and just pull through some hard times, or whether you're actually having quite an easy time. I mean, it's always battle and blessings, isn't it? So I hope that you are going through as much of a time as blessing as you are of battle. And I hope that my podcast in some way has helped you this week. So I look forward to seeing you same place, same time next week. And I hope you have a really good week. Bye for now.